Hello everyone, friends of Victrix and precision shooting enthusiasts. I am Giuseppe Valtorta, the CEO of Victrix, and this is the first in a series of videos where I will explain the 2020 catalog of both tactical and sporting weapons. Today, I would start with the Victrix Scorpio, which is the flagship of the professional line, available in multiple calibers. We have it in .338 Lapua Magnum, 300 Norma Magnum, and 300 Winchester Magnum. On the table, you can see two different setups. In .338 Lapua Magnum from the V series, one with a 22-inch barrel and the 26-inch version, respectively, in tan and dark gray colors. The Scorpio is currently the best-selling weapon in the military sector. We have sold it to the Italian Special Forces, but in reality, beyond our borders, there are several armed forces and special forces using this type of product. Obviously, in NATO caliber, in .338 Lapua, they have chosen the 26-inch for the military sector and the 22-inch for the law enforcement sector. The solutions are the classic ones. We have seen over time from Victrix, so we do not use particular plastics, nor do we use specific castings or those derived from low production cycles. As per our tradition, we derive everything from solid blocks, so everything is machined, from a solid piece, then undergoes thermal and surface treatments, but in fact, we always start from a single piece of metal. The solutions of the V line, which is the top of the range of the Scorpio version, which will be alongside the T version, but we will explain that at another time. We find a chassis made entirely of lightweight alloy, hard anodized to resist abrasion and corrosion, and a Cerakote finish available in 3 colors. What you see, I was saying, is tan, one of the best-selling colors because it is easy to imagine that most conflicts in recent years, being fought in sandy areas, have this color as the preferred choice of the armed forces. Returning to the weapon, we see a completely lightweight alloy chassis with a forend, machined from solid material, a 20 MOA inclined top rail, 20 minutes of angle from top to bottom. So we have continuity of the rail between the action and the handguard. The upper rail is machined from solid material along with the tube, so there are no fastening screws or points that could create issues with detachment. We have a lower rail where we have the possibility to attach various Picatinny accessories. In this case, a quick-release ROM bipod has been mounted. We have side windows with a unified M-lock attachment to allow the attachment of M-lock accessories such as rails, aiming systems, and lighting systems. And we have the central part where a Picatinny rail is also machined from solid, so here too, we do not have added systems that could cause us problems in potentially harsh situations, where, in this case, a standard accessory is mounted, a carrying handle that is attached, with a quick release system, allowing it to be easily mounted and dismounted. It not only serves the purpose of being a carrying handle, but we can also see some features on it. So we see 2 QD hooks, which are quick detach for the rapid attachment of straps or accessories compatible with QD. A lower rail on which tripod attachment systems or mobile aiming systems can be mounted. We have a housing for inserts on the front, so you can use the classic closure inserts with screwdriver heads or hex keys to maintain the weapons and use it as a real screwdriver. Additionally, we have this loop, which is nothing more than a hook requested by some units for the use of the sniper rifle for heli sniping. For those of you who know, the shooting methodologies from helicopters or from vehicles. You know that often a rope or cord is used that goes from one point to another, requiring a fixed, somewhat central support point for the weapon that allows both pushing and pulling while remaining attached, and having the ability to quickly detach it to retreat. We have designed it this way. The handle is actually sold as an accessory on our ROM site and can also be applied to other types of weapons, including our weapons in the T versions that do not have it as standard. Moving on. To the body, it is also a solid body made of Ergel 775 featuring lightning cuts, but we have a recess in the magazine area with two holes that are not random. They are for the preparation of a Picatinny rail to attach remote controls. So if we needed to attach to on our mount, in this case, it is always a mount of our production, a lighting system, a laser aiming system. We have the possibility of having a point for the remote keyboard's grip. We have another QD attachment, quite central, also for attaching the rail. We have our magazine, in this case, in this version, a single stack magazine with a single presentation made of polymer. We have a grip that, when compared to previous versions, is essentially a vertical grip. It is no longer the usual angle we use on other platforms. We now have the ultra-tested hinge, our folding mechanism, which allows the buttstock to be folded from the side of the charging lever in a position that protects the charging lever safely and effectively, and in a secure manner. So even in the case of transport, there is no accidental opening. It must be intentional. Let's move on a bit with the description of the chassis. We have all the necessary adjustments, including the vertical adjustment of the chuck piece with continuous adjustment. So we don't have preset positions like in other solutions with the quick adjustment button, but we have an adjustment that can be millimetric, meaning for any type of face shape, height of the optics, or height of the optical mounting system, we will always find the right height particularly quickly. A feature we have included in the new buttstock is the ability to insert inserts in this area, such as tools with a screwdriver, slot, or hexagonal shapes, which can be used for the routine maintenance of weapons and can be inserted into the handle or another setup that I will show you shortly in the butt pad. So very quickly, we have the possibility of having the tools for the routine maintenance of the weapon always at hand without having to carry wrenches on us. Also on the butt pad, we have a quick adjustment of the rubber. So through the button, we have the ability to move it very quickly and also in depth with a millimetric adjustment. In this case, as well, just turn the butt pad 180 degrees and you can find, as in the carrying handle, the area for inserting the maintenance inserts. Continuing with the buttstock in this case. In the V series, we have integrated the monopod with a quick maximum adjustment via lever and a classic micrometric adjustment with a screw. So we can easily find the shooting position and the millimetric adjustment on the target via the lower screw. In fact, it remains a retractable monopod and presents us with a smooth rear support surface, which many use to slide the weapon on bags, bean bags, etc. Coming to the mechanical part, in the V series we have a bolt action in AEC 630, which is surface treated with a PVD to achieve very high surface hardness, essentially increased hardness for several reasons, primarily for smoothness. For the smooth operation of the bolt within the action, to have a surface hardness greater than that of silica, designed for operators in sandy areas. We have a surface of the mechanical components with hardness greater than sand. So if sand were to interfere between the mechanism and the bolt, it would be broken by the surface that is much harder than the grain of sand itself. The action is obtained by electrolysis, so the cut. It results in a cut that is as refined as possible from a geometric and dimensional point of view. A fairly slow machining process, but ultimately the most refined possible for this type of application and processing. The bolt, on the other hand, is turned, milled, and ground. In this case, we also use technologies that those of you who know the mechanical sector well, and even applied to firearms, know are solutions that are not usually used in industrial weapons. So much so that Victrix, as you know, should not be considered an industrial weapon in every respect, as we use technologies and materials that are usually used only in weapons that are defined as custom. The barrel is an easy 416R. On the V version, we start from a raw material from Benchmark, which many of you know, it is one of the top brands in the United States from which we buy the raw material, specifically the drilled and rifled bar, to which we obviously apply our machining processes, including profiling, chambering, threading, the stops, and centering for the muzzle brake. The muzzle brake also has some peculiarities. Since we use a somewhat particular design in version V that may seem like a sought-after aesthetic design, but in reality, like all the details of our weapons, it has a functional purpose. Therefore, we do not stop at wanting to impress you with a wow effect, but we prefer to bring the wow effect with the first shot you will fire or have already fired. Therefore, the muzzle brake has inclined windows, which cannot be made on traditional machines. This is done on a 5-axis machine, or rather on an Integrax. For those of you who know the technology, it is nothing more than a kind of lathe with a 5-axis head mounted, which gives us the ability to create particularly complex shapes in a very careful and precise manner. Still, on the Scorpio in this case, I will show you an application on a 22-inch, currently a weapon used as the standard issue for Italian police special forces, for example, so it is news that is already public knowledge, which we can share with you without any problems. It is a .338 with a 22-inch barrel and a quick-release suppressor. Therefore, in this case, you see that the terminal part is not the classic standard muzzle brake, but there is something different, both in shape and size, which gives us the possibility in this configuration, in this situation, to have the maximum no recoil power. What does it mean? We can shoot even with energetic calibers, with particularly powerful ammunition, so with a 338 of 300 grains, perhaps pushed to significant speeds without feeling particular impacts or destabilizations during the shot. It is precisely because of the shape of the brake itself, which has a design studied in terms of dimensions and geometries, to make the most of the combustion gases exiting the barrel slightly. But as you have seen, we can switch from a solution with a classic muzzle brake to a silenced solution in a second. It is a patented system. Today in the world, we are the first to have the possibility of having a silencer for sniper rifles that can be mounted and dismounted, as you can see, in the span of 2 seconds. It can obviously be done both with a hot and cold weapon, and the possibility just as quickly to return to a classic configuration. I would say that, aside from a small anecdote about the Scorpio that comes to mind every time I mention it, there has been an evolution that you have seen from the first catalog. So we are talking about 2015 up to today, where the shapes and sizes have changed significantly. Obviously, not having been part of any particular armed force, but I am a great listener. Until the early years, I designed and engineered functional weapons, exclusively based on the advice given by the operators meaning the people who use the weapon as their working tool in the field. A few years ago, I found myself in an unconventional situation, as I was abroad, very far from Bergamo, a few thousand kilometers away, having to accompany a training situation for the armed forces. And contrary to what often happens to me, where I arrive near the areas where training is conducted or in the areas where we do live fire tests with the equipment, in this case, they gave me my nice backpack, the ammunition, and the weapon to carry to the area where these live fire tests and training were actually taking place. I obviously hadn't taken into account that I would have to walk for about 3 hours loaded like a mule. So aside from the fact that I am not used to carrying such a heavy backpack, because I do something completely different for a living, the heaviest weight I carry is the bag with the documents and the laptop. So with my backpack on my shoulders, I set off with the weapon in hand and the ammunition for a journey whose end I didn't know well. It practically ended after about 3 hours of walking, where I no longer had the energy, not even to do the training, but even to speak. From there, I understood the importance of the weight issue. So suddenly, as soon as I returned, remembering the hard work I had done, I reconsidered some components, including the chassis, which underwent the most modifications in order to reduce those few hundred grams. That would probably have allowed me to reach the end of the journey still using words and not just gestures. A curious thing, but one that justifies the evolution of the design and some processes between the early versions and the latest. I would say that for the Scorpio, I have told you practically everything. I will bore you with other videos soon on other products, and I'll see you next time.